Hello and welcome to BUCS Super Rugby. Everyone here has an umbrella up. They've got a hat and gloves on, which can only mean one thing. We are at Kickoff for round 7 of BUCS Super Rugby. And today the Archers entertain last season's beaten finalists Leeds Beckett, who've had a superb start to the season. Just the 1 defeat and 4 victories. They're going through their final preparations in the pouring rain here. Thankfully, we might not be warm, but we are dry. And joining me for the first half of this one, David Duggan. Not perfect conditions. You've got probably the best headgear on. Unfortunately, we're out of vision, so no one can see. But an opportunity for the Archers here to get a good performance in against a good side.
Yeah, definitely. Met have started well at home this season. They've beat Hartbury and Loughborough in the past few weeks, and they look strong in those games as well. So looking for a good game tonight.
Well, you had a good look at them last week. Consistency's been a real problem. They've won 2 in a row at the beginning of this league campaign for the first time in 12 months. But what did you learn from the performance last week?
They were dominant up front, the likes of Corey Lewis and Alan Board, not just scoring tries, but involved in other tries as well. Big carrying and a dominant up front. So I think they'll have to do that again tonight against Beckett.
Well, let's give you a quick run through of the teams this evening. The Archers make 3 changes to the starting 15 that faced Durham last week. Will Hurd for Luke Yendall at tight head is the only change in the pack. Zach Clow comes in for Harrison Button on the left wing with Oliver Morrison. He's preferred to Bingo Ivanisevic at outside centre. That is the best name in the league by a mile, by the way, Bingo Ivanisevic. 6 on the bench who weren't in last week's squad. Tom Jenkins, Evan Lloyd, Ethan McVeigh, Ian Pring, Liam Malkin and Isaac Thompson. I mean, for a lot of teams, to make 6 changes on the bench like that would seem massive, but there's such a volume of rugby players here at Cardiff Met. It's just something that we've almost come to expect.
Yeah, definitely. And you've got to think as well about the Saturday games in the Championship. They're switching squads around quite often. There's 2 first-team squads, if you like, getting played every week here in the Championship and then in Super Rugby. So they're chopping and changing all the time.
Not many chops and changes for Leeds Beckett. They do, however, rotate their props. Hancock and Ajay start with Leet and Percival on the bench. Gareth Stevens is in for Chaz Dixon at 13. Coyle for Davis at 15. Hayden Thompson Green is on the bench. Thomas Phipps, the only member of last week's matchday squad to miss out. Spoke to the guys from Leeds Beckett earlier, and they have complained that it's been like this for every single week they've played so far this season. It's difficult to know who this is really going to suit tonight, but Kickoff is described all around the league as a very difficult place for away teams to go. I don't think either team is going to enjoy playing in these conditions, but these Archers players know this track very well indeed.
Definitely. I mean, they are quite dominant when it comes to playing down here in Kickoff, especially when the Archers ultras come out here now. When the fans, if they dare to come out in the rain, that is, if they do come out here, they got a 16th man when about 150 other rugby players come out. Well, and the other teams come out and support them. It's unbelievable here.
Well, they certainly do generate one of the best atmospheres in the entire league. The referees and the referee and his assistants just making their way out into the middle. I'll be completely honest with you. I've seen people a lot happier to be in a certain place than all of the officials. It's going to be a very interesting evening for them, particularly at the breakdown, because Leeds Beckett, they've got an absolutely huge forward pack. Looking at the back row, they've got Tom Collins, Toby Francis and Nick Brown. A lot of heavy ball carriers in there, but no one who's really going to be in to turn the ball over. I think this is a night where somebody like Will Gibson might really look forward to getting his hands dirty.
Yeah, definitely. And he plays so well, Will, over the ball. He gets down to those strong positions and it's really hard to move. He's also the vice captain. He leads from the front, and when he gets his hand on the ball, he's just a wrecking ball. He bounces off players and it's really hard to get him down as well. So he's pivotal for Met tonight.
It's been a fantastic start to the season for Leeds Beckett. As I mentioned, 4 victories out of 5 games, and that 1 defeat was a touchline conversion with the last play of the match for Exeter to maintain their undefeated start. But if there is a chink in the armour, then maybe it is at the breakdown. So that'll be something that Cardiff Met look to take advantage of this evening. Let's have a look at some of the other fixtures today. Northumbria versus Swansea was the early kickoff. That's an interesting game. Swansea have had a fantastic start to the year. Northumbria picked up their first win of the season last week too. Cardiff versus Bath. That's a 6 o'clock kickoff at Llanrumney, and that's going to be one to keep an eye on for Cardiff Met, because of course the Cardiff derby now at the Arms Park. It's in about a month's time, and what an occasion that is for everyone involved.
Oh, definitely. We can't wait for that one. We'll be going down there, covering it, and it's such a big occasion. The last few years has been quite fiery, and Met, I think, are winning that battle at the moment, but it's all bragging rights in the city.
Have you got to those games then? Have you enjoyed them as a fan?
Oh, definitely. I've been to most of them actually down well since Cardiff joined the league, and it's such an occasion. The stands are split, the Cardiff end and then the Met end, and it's such a good occasion for a fan, but also as a player, I'd imagine.
Fledgling part of the season, but Hartpury face Loughborough. They're both teams that Cardiff Met have got victories over this year. And it feels as though with both of those teams, they've got a bit of a point to prove as well. Hartpury seem to come good when it matters, but they're currently sat 5th in the league. They've got 2 defeats in a row against Cardiff Met. The first time that the Archers have ever beaten Hartpury twice in a season. It certainly shows that, well, what's the league position at the moment? 6th place. Inconsistency is the problem, but they can do it against the top sides. Are they going to be able to do it tonight against Leeds Beckett?
Well, as we've spoken about it, it's going to be all one up front today. I think the back row is going to be pivotal. Gibson and Aled Ward need to have big games, and Matt Marsh, the skipper, then has to dominate the play and play in the right areas as well. Last week when Durham came down last week, I thought Met were playing well, but not in the right areas. They have to play the territory game and win the ball in the right places. And here we go, the boys running out now.
Cardiff Met arrive, trying to stay dry for as long as possible. It will not be a long time at all, because it is biblical here at King Coit. Freezing cold rain as we approach December. So let's give you 1 to 15, starting with today's visitors, Leeds Beckett. In the front row, Connor Hancock, Will Routledge and Jide Ajay at 1, 2 and 3. John Okafor and Adrian Wadden, the settled pair in the engine room. Tom Collins, Toby Francis and Nick Brown at 6, 7 and 8. The Welsh connection of Connor Lloyd and Steph James are the halfbacks for the visitors. Harry Robinson on the left wing, Will Lewin on the right wing, Charlie Venables and Gareth Stevens in the centres, with Max Coyle at 15. And that's an interesting selection too, because he was all but joined up as an Archer. But at the last minute, Leeds Beckett came swooping in and stole his signature for the coming season. For Cardiff Met, Harry Dobbs is at 1, Corey Lewis at 2 and Will Hurd at 3. Ed Scragg and Tom Pearson at 4 and 5. Max Heathman, the aforementioned Will Gibson and Aled Ward at 6, 7 and 8. Matt Marsh captains the side from scrum half, then Russell Bennett outside him at 10. Zach Clow at 11. Harry Johnston and Oliver Morris at 12 and 13. Brad Denty at 14 and Callum Brayshaw at full back. Well, they've changed around after the toss, so Cardiff Met, the Archers in the navy blue strips. They're going to kick off to the right hand side. Leeds Beckett receiving the kickoff in purple, and we are underway. Now, interesting watching that very first kickoff. Relatively low floodlights here, and that might seem like a strange observation, but those high balls, they go out of the floodlight and back in as well. It's going to be very, very difficult for those receivers underneath the ball this evening.
Yeah, one person who was coupled to that in the last game there was Jack Johnson, who played for Loughborough a few weeks back, and I think they counted 8 drop balls as fullback from him that night, and the conditions were the same, and it's going to be tricky for halfbacks and fullbacks in collecting the high balls tonight.
Well, the first look at the set piece, and Max Heathman, oh, lovely chip over the top, but the offside line is called just as Harry Johnston looked like he was on the end of that. Smart play, quick play, and interesting, even in these conditions, Cardiff Met back in the line-out and picking out Max Heathman at the back.
Yeah, definitely. Max was struck around quite a bit, I think, so he's quite an option in the line-out. But Harry Johnson there, quick on his feet, a bit too quick maybe, offside.
Steph James, first touch finder for him. Come through the ranks at Leeds Beckett, started right at the bottom of the club, wasn't even considered for the performance programme. Now he's the club captain, on standby for England students at the end of last season as well, but that's because of university eligibility. He's Welsh through and through. And another line out over on the far side. Australian Nick Brown, the target for that one. 3 Brown brothers involved with Leeds Beckett. We've got Jordan, who's on the bench today, and also Kyle, the scrum half, who played in the second team earlier on. And Cardiff Met winning the penalty there. Great line-out defence. To apologise, it'll be a scrum over on the far side. And if it's possible, the rain's got even heavier.
It's shutting it down now, and I think the others are warming up their voices as well.
Well, I'm going to do my best to get on the good side of the Ultras tonight, because I was in bad books for not mentioning Cardiff Met as potential champions this year, and boy oh boy did they let me know about it on social media. But great to hear them in fine voice tonight.
Yeah, they've been quite prone to chucking the beers at a couple of their chance, but I don't think they want to get threatened.
Oh, don't waste them, boys, yeah, don't waste them.
Enough out here.
So our first look at the set scrum. And there's Matt Marsh, the captain. First touch for him, and there's that drop ball from fullback that you spoke about. Already like a bar of soap out of there. The Archers not letting it stop them play rugby, but it's going to be a tough night for handling tonight.
Yeah, I think that was Oliver Morris slipping up there and going on the crash, but it's just scrappy, and it's going to be hard chucking the ball around, especially in the backs. It's going to be obviously a forward-dominated game up the jump and stuff.
Okay. Good start to the season for Oliver Morris. He was pivotal in the victory over Hartbury. And with the talent they've got in the centres, the likes of Robbie Smith, that is quite a feather in the cap. And this could be a sight we see very often this evening. The set scrum first puts in for Connor Lloyd.
Good structure, they're both teams.
Scrappy kick.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of that tonight, kicking into the corner, trying to play the territory game and going from there, capitalising on the opposition's mistake and trying to scrape any points as you can, really.
Going to be a challenge for Cardiff Met's exit strategy here. Again, they go to the back. It's scrappy, but I think that's gone forward off a Leeds Beckett hand, and that's a bit of a relief there for the home side.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Beckett kicked into the corner, hoping to capitalise on a mistake, but they slipped up, unfortunately. I mean, Met will be happy there. It's a for him, but they'll probably look at the other lines here and not play out from their own 22.
Yeah, okay.
Well, honours even in the scrum so far. Neither side really able to get any kind of advantage, which I think would be quite pleasing for Kerry Wood and Colin Stevens, the Leeds Beckett coaches, because they've rotated the props today. Hancock and Ajay, usually impact players. Both of these sides renowned for their strong scrummaging. But Jared Leeds and Jacob Percival to come on in the second half, an embarrassment to riches for Leeds Beckett at scrum time. Listen to that, I think they brought the drum with them tonight as well.
Yeah, I think they've not only got fire practice tonight, they've got a band practice as well. But it's not as many numbers as we've seen the last few weeks. I think people are jibbing it because of the weather.
Oh, lovely work there from Connor Lloyd. Just as Alan Ward was starting to go. That's all from the scrum half, putting pressure on. And Cardiff Met's number 8 holds on for too long. And this will be a first pop at goal for Leeds Beckett. And the boot of Connor Lloyd.
I think that was number 5, Adrian Wadden there over the ball very strongly. He's a big man to move, especially in these conditions. If he plants his feet down and gets it nice and well in a strong position, then he's going to be tough to wobble and get over the ball.
Yeah, okay.
You think this should be 3-0 here? It's quite straightforward, I imagine.
Very, very reliable right boot on Connor Lloyd. Scored over 100 points last season. He's well on his way to doing the same again this term. and does not let the opportunity pass. Cardiff Met 0, Leeds Beckett 3.
Yeah, I think Leeds Beckett will be happy. As I mentioned, they want to get down into Met's 22 and get anything as they can, really. They're used to playing in these conditions, and I think this will tell when the game goes on.
Well, I'm going to keep my eye on the wingers today, because I don't think they're going to be doing a great deal of work, and I think at some point they'll be shivering as that's offside straight away from the restart. They've let that ball bounce, and Will Routledge instinctively jumped on it, but that had come off a Beckett foot.
Yeah, Beckett will probably want to just clear the lines of exit from that kickoff. They got 3 points and just one thing on their mind, just get rid of the ball, but they've conceded a penalty, and this is a chance for Met now to make it level again.
That is kickable, slightly more of a challenge than the one that Conor Lloyd just put through the uprights. Harry Johnston, who started at outside half the last time Cardiff Met got to a Twickenham final. And that is exactly what you want after conceding 3 points, the opportunity to level things.
Yeah, I think Danny Milton will be very happy. Chance to get back on terms, 3-all, hopefully if this was over.
Into a slight wind, but it's the conditions underfoot and overhead that are going to be the challenge here. Good strike though. Oh, it's hit the post and got in. We couldn't tell from this angle which side it had dropped, but less than a minute after going behind, Cardiff Met level things 3 apiece.
That's a good kick by Harry as well. I mean, you've got to take the conditions into consideration. I mean, that's not easy at all with all the wind and the rain. That's a very good kick from him.
Well, he's not going to waste any opportunity to score on a night like tonight. Low punching restart, taken on the bounce by Corey Lewis. And now the big men can get their hands on it. Now Matt Marsh, plenty of height on that, and that will be one that drops from outside the lights. Good challenge in the air. Which way's that gone forward? He's decided that it was off Brad Denty. Challenge came in from Nick Brown.
That's difficult. That's one of those hanging kicks with the floodlights. Matt Marsh is going to be pinging them all evening, I think. But Nick Brown did well there. Got under it and put pressure on Denty. He slipped up and scrum for Beckett.
Not been a great deal of fluidity in the game so far, but I think that's understandable given the positions.
Yeah, I think we'll see a lot of this. Another good scrum though.
Yeah, Harry Robinson going looking for work for Leeds Beckett. That's something they do very well. Will Lewin on the right wing, and him and Chester Duff last year, fantastic exponents of that, and they ripped Cardiff Met to shreds in the knockout game. So Routledge tips that one on. Steph James tries to put some width on it again. They put boot to ball, trying to pin Cardiff Met in the 22. That's well dealt with. But now the numbers need to come back as Leeds Beckett pour in and really are defending narrow as well. Max Coyle goes back to defend the kick from fullback. But it'll be a few phases before that kick comes. Exit strategy with this rain into that wind is going to be very, very difficult for Cardiff Met in the first half. And they challenge the ball carrier. It is a clean take, and there's no one on the right wing. And that is beautifully nursed into touch to put Beckett back into the Archers 22.
I think Met were lucky there to exit so successfully, because there was no one chasing that. The player who caught it had so much time on the ball, and to just find his corner and put pressure back on Met.
Corey Lewis goes to the back again, and Leeds Beckett get a hand on it. They've taken that gamble every time. You wonder whether there are safer options in these conditions. Little bit of afters there between Harry Dobbs and Conor Lloyd. Conor Lloyd doesn't need a second invitation to get stuck in. The former Narberth man. Leeds Beckett set up that pocket, and it's Harry Robinson, the winger, going through like a cannonball. Cardiff Met trying to get hands on it. An excellent counter drive, but now it comes loose, and Lloyd, bit of fancy footwork, runs himself into trouble as the rain gets heavier again, pounding down on the steel roof in our stand. Chidi Ajayi picks and goes and wins the penalty. And it's sustained pressure from Beckett, not going through a huge amount of phases, but the work they are doing very effective.
Yeah, definitely. The first grubber kick came through to the fullback to deal with, Callum Brayshaw, and the ball just doesn't bounce on the surface tonight. It's so wet and boggy. It's just going to slide over the surface. It's going to be very hard to deal with those low kicks. Met didn't clear their lines, and well, it's going to be a penalty here, and probably 6-3 for Beckett.
But it was actually well dealt with. The problem you've got is when you do receive that ball, you've got no one back in support, nowhere to go. And Leeds Beckett playing very sensible, territorial rugby at the moment. And Connor Lloyd now 15 metres out, bang in front of the sticks. Restores Beckett's lead, 6-3.
I think that's intelligent play by Beckett as well. Once they gathered that box kick from Mash, first thing that was on his mind is putting it back straight into the corner, put pressure back on Met. Your turn to get rid of the ball, and they failed to do so, and Leeds Beckett capitalised and took the points.
Russell Bennett then to get us restarted. Not seen a huge amount of ball. Harry Johnston was so far offside from that restart.
Yeah, he needs to be careful. He was pinged by offside earlier on in the game, so the ref might be looking at him.
Now, Leeds Beckett need to exit for the first time. Will Routledge with the carry. He was the one who gave away the penalty that allowed Cardiff Met to equalise, and that's Connor Lloyd with the box kick. Chase him back. That's an excellent catch. Good pressure from Charlie Venables to make the tackle.
Yeah, I think that's Zach Clough for Met there, running back towards his own goal line and catching the ball nicely, and I think that's very, very good play from Zach.
Again, no Beckett giving away a penalty and not really making Cardiff Met go through the phases to earn that penalty either.
No, they put 2 penalties off from restarts now, Beckett after taking leads. I think the coach should be thinking about that from restart, trying to exit successfully and just getting the game going.
The Cardiff Met line out not firing this evening at all, and Leeds Beckett able to pinch that one. Routledge again, the man who fancies the carry. Shock of blonde hair slicked down by the conditions. Okafor gives Connor Lloyd plenty of time to get that box kick away. And again finds touch, and they're not scared to give away the line-outs, Leeds Beckett, particularly the way it's going for Cardiff Met at the moment.
Yeah, it's something that Met would have been worked on this week as well. They lost so many line-outs to Durham last week in pivotal areas, defensively and offensively. They lost points and missed out on points versus Durham, and they'll be kicking themselves really, because I know Danny Wilton will be drilling that this week.
Well, Ed Scraggs claimed that one, and they've made 20 metres on the drive. That's much better from Cardiff Met. They've got some big men hanging out, but instead Russell Bennett puts boot to ball. He's looking for Brad Denty. Oh, that's a fabulous try.
Oh, that is great by Denty.
But it's not the first time that Russell Bennett has gone for the bigger-esque cross-field kick this season. It worked against Loughborough, and it's worked again against Leeds Beckett, and Brad Denty gathers that, gets himself on the right side, safe hands and a slick finish.
Yeah, the first try has come from a cross kick. You'd never believe that with conditions tonight. That's crazy. Yeah, Brad Denty scored in the same corner versus Loughborough a few weeks ago, and it's nearly identical. Oh, brilliant stuff from there. Nice to see them playing out wide as well.
Well, he's still had a lot of work to do as well, and it's nice to see that so early in the phase count. No cross kicks off penalty advantage, just backing the outside half, backing the right winger. And that's fabulous rugby in these conditions.
Yeah, they obviously worked on that because it's worked a few times against other oppositions, and they tested it out with Mrs. Beckett, and it's worked. Brilliant stuff.
Harry Johnston from the other side this time to add the extras. 17 minutes gone on the clock in the stadium. Cardiff Met lead for the first time. And that one doesn't quite draw in. So Cardiff Met keep the 2-point advantage. But we spoke earlier about taking every opportunity to score. Admittedly, the conversion was missed there, but the first time that they've managed to nail the line out, and that's what's happened.
Yeah, definitely, and they pushed Beckett back about 20 yards on that driving mull.
And that's not something we're used to seeing from Leeds Beckett either. Well, Brad Denty's just scored a try, but that's certainly not the best pass. Good clearance kick gathered by Max Coyle, the former Queensman. He's gone from downtown for a drop goal, but that's not going to bother the uprights. You've got to admire the effort, though, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely. But, well, I thought Beckett would have pinned Met back and played for the corners there. I mean, it's a chance for Met to clear their lines because the first exit from Met wasn't great and Brad Tenty's pass was questionable, but no chance for Met to clear their lines yet.
Which they will. They'll go long, in fact. They'll clear the back three. They've given themselves plenty of space. Again, boot goes to ball.
That was definitely the highest kick of the night so far, I think.
And you won't be able to see this from the camera angle, but temporarily it goes completely black. As soon as the ball goes above that floodlight threshold, it is incredible. Oh, it's charged down. Here's the chance. Connor Lloyd. Sensational work from the scrum half. Gets his second try of the season. He's been alert all night. It was him that forced the first penalty. And straight from the breakdown. The kick was too flat, but that is a fabulous individual effort. The charge down and the finish from Connor Lloyd, and Leeds Beckett strikes straight back.
That's just simply poor from it. I mean, they caught the ball and dealt with a high up and under, but you've got to get your guards in and you've got to set up properly to exit, and the scrum half just rushed up, pushed the ball down to the ground and scored. Easy strike for Leeds Beckett.
Smart territorial rugby once again, and that all came from the missed drop goal too. But always alert, and that is why he is one of the premier nines in the competition. Connor Lloyd captaining the side and leading by example. Leeds Beckett 13, Cardiff Met 8, and all of the points have come from the man in number 9.
Yeah, it's Connor Lloyd versus Cardiff Met at the moment. He's running the show. Fair play to him.
Halfway through the first half, and that's a miskicked restart too.
Just a series of poor errors there by Met, getting charged down and then the restart not going 10. You need to get this strong platform in the scrum now and regather. So when Aled Ward, maybe one of the big players, just need to put their hand up and get the players together to restart here. Let's go again.
I'm quite surprised to see the restarts not going very long, very deep. Not just to force the exit, but just to force the catch in the first place.
Yeah, especially with Leeds Beckett's restarts not been that good. They put 2 penalties away, both restarts. And seeing backs getting cold here, I think.
There's Gareth Stevens there with his arms folded and his hands tucked under his armpits, trying to get some temperature in those extremities. Nick Brown picks. That's not the best of passes to Connor Lloyd. So now Charlie Venables again puts boot to ball early. It wasn't really on, and Heathman. Well, John Okafor has gone in over the top there. He's gone in high. Will there be further action? Well, interestingly, that's the first time we've mentioned John Okafor. And he's the kind of guy that can just drift into a game and make a massive difference, but not had the opportunity to so far tonight.
Yeah, that was a big hit on Max Eastman there, but he was back on his feet. Second thought really there, Max.
So Corey Lewis, who's going to be his target this time? Short and line out. That's better and allows them to set. Lewis into the armchair. Ward, high body position there, so Routledge can stand him up. They take themselves up to the 22, tipped on, allowing Will Gibson in the red scrum cap to have a carry. Doesn't quite get over the gain line. They go to the blind side. There is Ward. Steps inside. Toby Francis makes the tackle. Oh, they've gone quickly here. Lovely work from Matt Marsh. Oh, step from Matt Marsh. Try from Matt Marsh. Oh, the scrum halves running the show here at King Coyd. And whatever Connor Lloyd can do, Matt Marsh can match.
Yeah, that was a brilliant weaving run. He thought, oh, let's get some pace into this game. Took the ball quickly, looped past the Leeds Beckett pack under the posts.
Well, you'd think a penalty inside the 22, you go for the sticks, you get yourself back into the game, but those are the moments of magic that can really change a match like this. And the scoreboard ticking along nicely. Cardiff Met 13, Leeds Beckett 13, with a conversion to come.
Met are proving to be dominant in the line now after the driving maul there. They pushed Beckett about another 10 yards in. Someone came in from the sides and took the advantage. Met are not afraid to be playing the ball and playing some rugby as well in these conditions.
Johnston. Easier conversion this time. And makes no mistake. Cardiff Met find themselves back in the lead. And once again, like this fixture has every time, this is the 8th time the two teams have met, and on each occasion both teams have reached double figures, which is more than can be said for a lot of opponents of Leeds Beckett this season. They were the first team in BUCS Super Rugby history to nil 2 teams in a year. Loughborough and Northumbria being the unlucky recipients of those 2 zeros. But 2 tries in these conditions, and 2 very good tries too. And interestingly, Cardiff Met have struggled to get over the whitewash this year. Didn't score a try in either of the defeats to Durham, which is not something we associate with teams that are drilled by Guards and Milton. And that exit takes them up to the halfway line.
Oh, that was good play, very good exit. I think Danny Milton will be very happy there. Score the try and then get rid of your lines, exit, and they did successfully. It's getting, yes, it's a tight game so far. It's very good matchup.
The Archers Ultras trying to put a little bit of pressure on Will Routledge, but finds his man at the front. Nick Brown is the target.
Oh, Will Gibson's over that. Will Gibson's all over that, I think. Yeah, he is.
Well, you highlighted him as a key player at the start of this match. The difference in the back row, who can create those turnovers. And given half a sniff, Will Gibson wins the penalty.
That's so important, isn't it? That's 1-0 to the back row of Met. It was an important place in the game there. He turn over the ball and send Loughborough back into the 22. You can bet your house they'll drive this probably, because they've been quite successful with that, and hoping to get something out of this play now.
Short numbers again. 4 in the line with Max Heathman loitering, and it's a training ground move. And the old curse of the commentator there, as soon as you predict something, you can bet your bottom dollar that they keep you guessing. So Matt Marsh digs for it. It's a good shot from the Beckett defence, and they've made a change. Chaz Dixon's come on. Scored a try versus Bath and in the varsity match. Oh, that's a lovely mark called as well. Under pressure, chasing back. And this time it comes to nothing for Cardiff Met.
Yeah, that's a shame really. They haven't gone through any phases there, 2 or 3 maybe, but the reaction of the penalty with Will Gibson jumping on his feet and the boys congratulating him, and they haven't made anything of it. They get a second chance here now, but hopefully they'll build something else.
Well, you wonder whether they've had a chat about doing things quickly, about running this Leeds Beckett, this big physical Leeds Beckett side around a little bit. Because it was first phase where they scored, where Denty scored that try from the crossfield kick, and then taking the quick tap penalty as well.
Yeah, they'll probably want to move them around and play the unexpected, because on this night you can imagine Beckett will keep it tight, as they have.
An advantage coming here for the knock-on. And there is Okafor trying to find that gap through the middle, as he often does. He's powerful enough to get away from the first man, but not on this occasion. There's Wadden, who waits, puts his head down. Routledge backs him up. Again, it's Gibson. Does well to drive him back there. Steph James. Just Brayshaw back on his own. Up comes the chase. Stevens is the first man there, and he makes the tackle. Leeds Beckett's outside centre. Very, very dangerous runner. Scored a stunning length of the field try in the first week of the season. That's a big collision coming in as well. If you keep it tight against Beckett, you'll certainly be on the end of some big shots as we approach the last 10 minutes of the first half. Marsh puts boot to ball. In fact, Okafor's down, receiving some medical attention. That's not something that Leeds Beckett will want. Well, not something that anyone will want. We never want to see injured players at any level.
That was a good kick there by Matt Marsh, and the line chase is brilliant. The quality of kicking and the catching has been surprisingly good, thinking about the conditions as well.
He's going to kick this.
This time it's Connor Lloyd with the box kick. Good chase as well, a fabulous take. In between the halfway and the 10, over the shoulder and under pressure. Ward tips that one on. Oh, massive shot. That's Chaz Dixon. Only just off the bench, you can tell by his clean shirt.
That's a flanker he's putting on his backside there. It was a big, big hit.
But again, good exit from Cardiff Met, and they find themselves back in the Beckett 22. Cardiff Met 15, Leeds Beckett 13. 2 tries for the Archers.
If you want a guest on,
1 conversion, 1 penalty. All 13 of the visitors' points coming from Connor Lloyd.
Might have stolen this chance
the
maybe.
scrum half from last year's just turn up if you need someone at half-time.
I think both teams will be a little bit disappointed with the line-out, but when it has gone right, they've been able to get some go forward, have the Archers. Not so much Leeds Beckett at the moment. So there's Bennett again, goes for that cross kick. Brad Denty gives chase. Connor Lloyd's back there. He's gathered that at the second time of asking, and the pressure's coming on now. He's done very well again, the Beckett scrum half. Bit of a counter-ruck from Johnston, but Leeds Beckett pinned in that corner. Now Bennett stayed back to defend the kick, as we are in the last 10 minutes of the half now. Oh, that's been charged down, but the penalty advantage was coming. I'm not sure Connor Lloyd will have known that, though. That'll have been sweet relief to hear the shrill blast of the referee's whistle.
Yeah, that's Corey Lewis. He scored a few this season, actually. I think he wanted to bag a few more to his collection there.
James finds touch, doesn't get a huge amount of distance on it. But it makes life easy for that exit if you give away a penalty in a position like that.
Yeah, that's it. It's an easy exit for Beckett there in the end. Met pinned them down right in the corner, the tight corner there. But it's just an easy exit again, and Met will have to disrupt to get this one back.
Okafor rises high, and that's a good line out from Beckett. They find a good offload as well. Matt Marsh is in there to stop Will Routledge. Oh, Okafor does very well there because the gap closed on the blind side. Oh, and a little bit of off the ball there too. Nick Brown's got to be careful. But back-to-back penalties, and Beckett can charge their way up the field.
Yeah, you can see Max Heathman there. He put 3 tackles in about 30 seconds. He was pumped up for this one, you can tell.
Eight minutes to go in the first half. At least that is what the clock in the stadium says. It's not linked in with the referee's watch though, so when it does hit 0, there might still be some time on the clock. But I think both of these sides will be very pleased to go in at half-time and have a little bit of warm and dry. Well, there was a bit of a trek to the changing rooms here at Kincoid, isn't it? By the time they get back there, they'll have to turn around and come back out.
Yeah, the last few games they've stayed out and just going to bear it really over the 5-10 minutes they have, but you won't be surprised if they jog back in for half-time today.
I'm not sure they will today. I think we might have some volunteers for a half-time interview because we're in pretty much the only dry spot. Who's it, the camera operator who's drawn the short straw, and they're out there getting absolutely rained on. So in it comes again. Archer's trying to get the shove on, but it's out quickly. Beckett do well. And Steph James puts boot to ball, kicks the Archers back into their own 22. And that's a good return kick as well. James does well under that. Read it well too, did the Welsh standoff. And everyone in the middle of the park just running shuttles as it stands. That's an excellent kick now. Just needs to hold up, and it does. It's Max Coyle, end over end. Good nudge from him. And the mark called. Perhaps a waste there from Callum Brayshaw, but again, forcing Leeds Beckett to exit. And both teams just wanting to keep the ball in play. Russell Bennett, ball in hand. He really is a running threat. Obviously not the evening for that. That one tipped on. Was that high there from Jide Ajay? No, says the referee. He's happy enough. Johnston puts his head down and breaks the tackle, but can't get the offload away. Well, is the referee taking them back? No, he's not. That wasn't a knock-on. Must have come off a Beckett player. And that's just been rolled out off the boot of Leeds Beckett, and that's got to go down as a mistake. This is a massive opportunity now for the Archers. Goodness me.
Yeah, I think Harry Johnson broke through nicely there, but offloaded, came off a Beckett hand backwards, so Gibson got on his racing boots on and chased that down nicely. But I want to give a quick mention to Aled Ward as well. He's everywhere tonight. He's carrying so hard, and he's putting a good shift in the first half here.
Well, he is the experienced man in the pack now, isn't he?
Yeah, he's been around now, and he knows what it takes to win against these big teams. So, and he is standing up tonight. He's putting good shift in.
Well, they got a bit of a shove on at the last scrum. If they do this time, keep an eye on that man, Aled Ward, because these are the positions that those number 8s love. Can't quite get the shove on this time, and he's got his head well into it as well.
Good scrum by Met.
Good footwork as well.
Penalty
And they've
try.
won the penalty. Under the sticks, it's a penalty try. Oh, they turned the screw at the right time. Bit of needle from the Beckett lads in the aftermath as well. But 7 points. 1-8. Cardiff Met putting in a shift. And they take the lead 22 points to 13.
You don't usually see that penalty try from the first scrum, do you? I mean, you usually see it given after 3, 4, maybe 5. But Met scrum were dominant there, and they really turned it on there when it mattered, and they're up 22-13.
Well, for those people who are watching, who follow BUCS Super Rugby week in, week out, a Leeds Beckett scrum going backwards is not something that we're used to seeing.
Definitely not, and you can see here Matt Marsh getting the boys in just to stay focused. They actually have taken the lead, but they want to keep them out now just before half-time.
Cardiff Met 22, Leeds Beckett 13.
I think it's a penalty here from what happened after the try. They're starting with a penalty.
Well, I'm just keeping an eye on the scoreboard here. Has he still allowed the penalty try? Or has he reversed the decision? Well, no, because he's given the penalty from the halfway line, hasn't he? So the 7-pointer stands, but discipline has cost the Archers, and now they find themselves back on the 22. Fantastic opportunity to respond for Leeds Beckett, and that's a great start. Good counter drive though, so again, Leeds Beckett have to put the brakes on. Alid Ward and Adrian Wadden, two big men looking to go at it there. JD Ajay, 120 plus kilos, trying to get his head down. Steph James pops the ball inside. Chaz Dixon gets swallowed up by the Cardiff Met defence, and they've turned it over.
That's fantastic play there. I think that's number 4, Ed Scragg with a tackle and then a turnover.
Harry Robinson underneath this, fumbles it, but it goes backwards. Brad Denty on the chase, but Robinson's got wheels, but gets eaten alive. What a shot on Harry Robinson.
That's Aled Ward again. He's everywhere tonight.
Smart kick. Looking for the 50-50 bounce, gets in, and it's broken to Gareth Stevens. Puts it to the wheels on the outside. Will Lewin gets held up, back to Stevens. What a passage of play. Well, bailed out into touch, but that's how quickly games can change in these conditions. Smart play from Steph James, knows he's got pace on the right-hand side. Stevens and Will Lewin were there, and from 22 to 22 and back again. What an end to the first half.
What a great game as well. I mean, with the conditions about half an hour ago, we didn't expect this at all, but it's end to end here. Great spectacle of rugby and great adverts of BUCS Super Rugby.
Well, Leeds Beckett spurned the first opportunity following the penalty try, but now they've got a second one, and this is a huge chance. Gone to the back, they found Wadden, safe pair of hands again. It's sacked early, goes to ground early. And Cardiff Met with some defending to do. Again, the big men get their heads down, charge through. So much power in that Leeds Beckett pack. Struggling to get over the gain line at the moment though. Speaking of men who've been everywhere, Will Routledge has gone through an incredible amount of work, the Leeds Beckett hooker. And they've won the penalty. Now, what's the choice here? It's an easy 3 points with less than a minute to go. Connor Lloyd has had an exemplary record so far this evening. And I think to take Leeds Beckett to within a converted try just before half-time, that's the smart move.
Yeah, the chance boring, but I think it's very intelligent play there by Connor Lloyd to choose to take the posts option. I mean, there's only 9 points in there that now, and if they take it down to 6 before half time, I think they'll take that after Met's momentum change halfway through this first half.
So Connor Lloyd, 13 points on his personal tally. The opportunity to take this to 16. He's had a fantastic 40 minutes. Makes no mistake, and on the stroke of half-time, he narrows the deficit, but it's advantage to the home side. Cardiff Met 22, Leeds Beckett 16. Dav Duggan, your thoughts on what we've seen?
It's been good. I've been very impressed with Met. They've squared up defensively very strong against Leeds Beckett, but Leeds Beckett haven't offered much in Met 22. They've taken their points, 3 points here and then, crossed over for an easy try, a charge down, and then Met came back halfway through the first half. Took a penalty from Will Gibson over the ball, quite good. Played the ball into the corner and managed to get the scrum and pushed Leeds Beckett back over their own line. That was a very, very good piece of, well, tactical play there by Met. And obviously, the best try of them all was the cross kick when Brad Denty collected the ball and went to the corner. Brilliant half of rugby. Looking forward for the second half. A lot of players have stood out for me. Aled Ward has been playing very well. Met has been carrying strongly defensively. unbreakable. He's been sending some very big men of Leeds Beckett back their own way. But for Leeds Beckett, few players have stood out. Will Rutledge, the hooker, he's been playing very well everywhere. And also the scrum half, obviously Connor Lloyd, all points for him so far. All points for him. The captain, he's leading from the front, he's leading on the scoreboard, and he's running the show at the moment for Leeds Beckett. I'm with Tim Fenny here. Tim, what are your thoughts on the first half? What have you seen in this first half?
Well, it's been a tale of set pieces, isn't it, Dav? Looking at the line-out in particular, Cardiff Met. Been sort of playing like they've been, the weather hasn't really deterred them at all. Go to the back a lot, playing off the top. It's nice to see it.
Definitely, because last week when we were here against Durham, the line-out weren't that good at all, was it? I mean, they lost a lot of ball and...
Half-time here, 22 points to 16. Cardiff Met lead against Leeds Beckett. Thoughts on what you've seen so far today? It's certainly not the match that I was expecting.
No, I think the conditions are playing a big part in it today. If you look at the way Cardiff Met are playing, they're putting us under pressure at the tackle area. We're giving away a lot of penalties and we're not really building momentum in their half. But I think we're doing quite well. We're coming out with points when we are there. So it's going to be interesting going into the second half.
Well, we're only halfway through the match, of course, but looking at individual performances, as always, Connor Lloyd has been superb for you, hasn't he?
Yeah, and he's captain as well, so he's leading from the front, he's setting that example, and he's motivating the lads around him, and I think that's going to be really important in the second half.
Something that we're not used to as BUCS Super Rugby fans is a Leeds Beckett scrum going backwards. I know you've rotated the props this week, you've got Percival and Leeds to come on in the second half. The penalty try there, it was given on the first scrum. We don't usually see that. What are your thoughts on that decision?
I don't really know. The referee's got the best view in there. They did go back and it's hit the post as well, and then there was a bit of stuff afterwards. But you got to look at from where we were last year as well. We've lost sort of the whole front row from last year. We've got new lads coming in this year. So Jared Percy was in the second team last year. It's learning moments for these guys, and I think as we move further and further on, I think that dominance in the scrum will come back again.
Well, let's have a little look at something that's more broad than this evening. Of course, being the rugby development officer, you're part of the programme. It feels as though this is a team that has just been able to build momentum. You look back to this time last year, they were bottom of the league. Since then, 13 victories in 16 games. They've beaten every team in BUCS Super Rugby. It's a tough evening for them tonight, but you must be quite proud of what they do week in, week out, those boys out there on the pitch.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that across the whole club. We've got 6 teams and every one of them put the same effort in as what the ones are. I think, Colin and Woody have done a really good job at bringing the culture within the senior squad, and that's allowed them to then build that platform to win the games after Christmas last year. I can't remember which game it was away, but then we didn't have Bath at home just before Christmas, and we didn't lose a game up until the final. So that's just the right culture. The lads supporting each other, motivating each other, and being one unit, and that's helped us sort of get the results on the field.
I was looking at the results, and I think, lost to Bath, lost to Cardiff, and then the following week put 40 points on Loughborough, and the rest is history, I suppose. Speaking of, you mentioned the seconds there. Obviously, there's a huge culture, but it seems as though there are opportunities. So Steph James is one of your best performers week in, week out, and he started in the 4th team. It's incredible in the amount of quality rugby players you've got coming through.
Yeah, well, in fairness to Steph as well, I didn't pick him for the first 4 months of the season, and now look at him, he's playing BUCS Super Rugby, so it shows what I know. But there's this year especially, we've got a lot of talented freshers that have come in. We've got 207 players at the moment that are coming through, so it's an exciting time for Leeds Beckett Rugby, and I think there's some more talent there that can break into this squad. They just need to sort of be nurtured into it a little bit. It
must be quite difficult to manage that, though, because I think they have the same problem here. Sometimes they'll put out 10 teams on a Wednesday, and you've got players coming through at 18, 19 that might be the big man at their club or their school, and then they're put into this environment. They perhaps don't get noticed straight away. How do you sort of keep them involved and sort of keep dangling the carrot and let them know that the chances are going to be there for them?
I don't think that's a problem just in BUCS Super Rugby. I think that's a problem across the whole university sector in terms of retaining players in the institutions to play. We do it really well by getting the freshers active early on. So we run a Friday Night Lights programme with the University of Leeds. We have inter-accommodation games, and then we have development fixtures against other local universities as part of the RFU's cluster programme. and that helps get these lads game time early. It gets them part of the university club, and then they get a feel for it, and then that allows them to keep in the club and keep playing. And there is a pathway, but the longer they work at it, the harder they work, the more they've got a chance of being looked at and being picked up.
Well, let's bring it back to this season and tonight then. Before we talk about the second half, what are the ambitions for Leeds Beckett this season? Surely it's got to be back at Twickenham and maybe go one better.
That's the plan. Yeah, we were really pleased with how we did last year, and the final was a great day. We've lost a lot of players from that squad as well. There was a few leavers there, so some might say this was meant to be a bit of a transition year, but I think we'll be able to get there. It's going to be a bit hard. We've got to come to places like Cardiff Met and pick up a win, and I think it'll be interesting to see how the lads react to that and what Colin and Woody have said at half-time to turn that 22-16 score around. Well, finally, because the players are about to get us restarted, what do you need to change to win the match in the second half? We need to keep the ball in the right area. If we can play inside their 22, like I said, when we've been there, we've come out with points. Let's take that in the second half, and I think we can win the game. Right, I'm going to be in trouble because I should be commentating on this. Chris, enjoy the second half. Thank you very much. Oh, got a bit excited chatting to Chris Stafford there, the Rugby Development Officer at Leeds Beckett University. Two fantastic programmes, two of the best in the country, going head to head this evening. As he mentioned, 207 registered rugby players at Leeds Beckett, and I would wager that it is a similar number at Cardiff Met. In fact, I'm going to ask Danny Milton exactly how many later. And I'm not suggesting that they are the most showbiz team in BUCS Super Rugby, but like Lady Gaga, they've come out with a half-time costume change, and they're straight on the front foot here, the Archers, in the silver and maroon. Tim Fenny joining me for the second half. What did you make of the first 40 minutes, Tim?
Cheers, Dave. Yeah, wet weather, isn't it? Soggy. You would have thought.
Correct.
You would have thought Cardiff Met would change their style a little bit, but no. It seems like they're playing like there's nothing going on. They're going off the top at line out to the back. Cross kicks everywhere. It's nice to see.
By change their style, you obviously don't mean the kit. As they go boot to ball early on, straight away, putting pressure on Will Lewin. And that is a decent clearance kick. Here's the fullback, Callum Brayshaw, keeping the ball in. Call for the knock on there, right in front of the Archers Ultras as well. Not a popular decision.
Yeah, there's a bit of a legacy behind the Ultras actually. A few of the old boys from last year are going to be watching the game, I'm sure, and they'll be cheering from home as well as all the boys cheering here as well, Dave.
Well, a very warm welcome to you wherever you are watching. Great to be back live with BUCS Super Rugby. And to compliment the team here at Cardiff Met, doing a fantastic job of getting the live streams back up and running once again. In an interesting news day for former Archers, it was announced that Luke Northmore was part of Harlequin's European Cup squad today, so congratulations to him. Did a fantastic job for a good few years as an Archer. Potential forward pass there from Max Coyle, but referee's assistant in a good place. But again, that tight Cardiff Met defence not allowing Leeds Beckett to cut through, and not allowed them to build any pressure at the moment. Slow ball. Steph James starting to get a bit frustrated with it too. Carries the ball to the line. Wadden pips John Okafor to it. And early in this second half, Met doing very well to just slow the ball down. Oh, that one's been dropped and hacked on there from Gareth Stevens. There'll be advantage coming. So we'll go back to the scrum. If you are just tuning in, Cardiff Met 22, Leeds Beckett 16. Leeds Beckett opened the scoring. Connor Lloyd with a penalty. And they gave away a penalty from the restart where the right boot of Harry Johnston equalised. Then Connor Lloyd kind of took over, got a charge down try. But a fabulous crossfield kick from Russell Bennett, found Brad Denty. That was the first of the Archers' tries. Then some quick thinking, tap and go from Matt Marsh, beat a few defenders. And then the penalty try. Fantastic scrummaging from Cardiff Met at the first time of asking. Back Leeds Beckett up. Because it looked as though they'd held their ground, then it just started to creak. And the referee, originally I thought it was just a penalty, but he almost went under the sticks in slow motion. And it feels as though it's been on the edge as well. At the breakdown, there's been a little bit of needle. Better scrum from Beckett this time. Here's Will Lewin, steps inside. Can't get around the defender. Oh, and Nick Brown giving Matt Marsh the hip there. He was in the wrong position, Matt Marsh, but oh, Nick Brown, he's a big old unit to be clattering scrum halves off the ball.
Classic scrum half nuisance you see there from Matt Marsh.
Yeah, they don't take telling scrum halves, do they? They're wired up different to everyone else. Already 5 minutes to this second half gone. No score yet. Leeds Beckett just tiptoeing into the Cardiff Met 22. Good field position for them. Options either side. And they've won the penalty. Another very kickable penalty for Connor Lloyd, who's been 100% from the tee so far this evening.
He's been really good today, hasn't he, so far? He's run the game for Leeds Beckett, and he's a proper talisman for the team at the moment. With this kick, if this goes over, it really is the Connor Lloyd show so far.
Well, he opened the scoring in the first half. Looks like he's going to do it in the second. I think Cardiff Met will be disappointed with the number of easy kickable penalties they've given away. See Okafor next to Lloyd there, man mounted. And he probably doesn't even practice ones that easy. First points of the second half. And Leeds Beckett are right back in it. Penalties either side at half-time. And it's Cardiff Met 22, Leeds Beckett 19.
You've got to be asking the question at the moment in Cardiff Met zone 22. A lot of penalties. You're not really seeing much in the opposition's half. They're disciplined well outside of the 22. So you'd have thought a bit of a message at half-time would be to lay off it a bit. But it seems like they're not changing. Leeds Beckett are sticking to their pretty front-up style at the moment in the range. So I can't see much changing from here on.
Looking to split the men from the restart. A little bit deeper this time after that one that was bunked straight into touch in the first half. Attempt to hold Will Lewin up. Unsuccessful this time, so Leeds Beckett pinned straight back in their own 22. Cardiff Met looking to be a nuisance at the breakdown. Again, slowing that ball down, making it as tough as possible for Beckett to exit as Connor Lloyd looks to line up the box kick again with slow ball. Zach Clow waits, but it's going to clear in. And go straight out just beyond the 10-metre line on this near side, right in front of the Cardiff Met Ultras.
It's going to be interesting to see if they continue with their sort of like free open play off the top of the line here. Short one again, short line out again. Potentially go to the back, we'll see.
Corey Lewis finds the man. Referee happy enough that it was straight. Still moving forward. And now it comes loose. Again, Routledge is there, making a nuisance of himself at the breakdown. To Corey Lewis, gets his head down. Backed up by the big men. JD Ajay still on. You wonder how long for as Khalid Ward fumbles that one, but just manages to recover. But takes the sting out of the attack. Here's Bennett. Oh, massive shot. Monster shot. There have been a few of those. Difficult to put that late footwork on. I think the Cardiff Met chase might be offside there, but Will Lewin doesn't take a gamble. Max Coyle can put some footwork on here. Very dangerous. Charge down by Ward, whose work rate has been phenomenal. I think he's worn that in the chest.
He's been absolutely everywhere tonight, isn't he? Tackling, running hard. even poaching the ball on a few occasions. We've seen Alex Ward's name sung quite a few times already. He's a proper talisman as well for Cardiff.
Well, he saved them 50 metres there, because it was great footwork from Coyle, in and out, and he was just looking to hack that downfield and get a good chase on. And that's been something that Beckett have really aimed to do, play in the right areas. That's why they've won the penalties. It's been a good response from Cardiff Met, though, after a couple of disappointing weeks. I think those defeats against Durham, where they've not managed to score a try in either. Good line-out ball again, Adrian Wadden, very, very reliable. That big Canadian youth international. And again, a penalty just makes life a little bit easier for Beckett. So Evan Lloyd getting warmed up. I say warmed up. They're going to have to think of another term, because there is nothing he can do to get warmed up unless it's put a coat on and walk indoors.
I'll tell you what, he's going to be a hell of a substitution coming on. Linked with the Dragons, been there for a couple of years now, I think, so a lot of firepower on Cardiff Met's bench by the looks of it.
Yeah, spoke to Dav earlier about the strength and depth they've got, and there is the change. So is that Brayshaw, the fullback, coming off, Bennett going to fullback, and Evan Lloyd moving into outside half. So wholesale changes in the back line for Cardiff Met as Okafor goes up for the line-out. And it's fumbled, it's off Nick Brown.
Yeah, with that substitution, it just shows the versatility of Cardiff Met's backs at the moment, doesn't it? They're that comfortable on a day like this to move people about here, there and everywhere. They're definitely feeling strong, they're definitely confident.
I do not quite understand. Oh, I was going to say, Will Routledge was trying one on there, and if it had gone that way, I don't quite understand how it could have, but sometimes you've got to have a bit of cheek.
I'm sure, yeah, the Ultras just behind him would have loved that as well.
Just a reminder, but it's been knocked on off Cardiff Met. It's been real famine and feast on the line-out. When it's gone well, they've been able to get great field position. But I make that 4 or 5 that they've not managed to gather cleanly.
Sort of tells the tale for the night again, doesn't it? The weather coming back involving. Nights like this, you've got to be really strong with your link for the hookers and the jumpers. The timing's got to be right. Everything's got to be there. You can't just one-handed grabs aren't going to happen tonight.
Timing far more important than pace in conditions like this. 12 minutes to the second half gone. Just the one Connor Lloyd penalty in the second half. Cardiff Met still with the narrowest of leads, 22 points to 19. Good scrum. Steph James again pumps that one downfield. Met return it with interest.
It's going to be interesting to see the kicking battle now with Russell Bennett going to fullback. It's definitely going to change the dimension of this match, I think.
That's a huge boot from Kieran Davis there, 22 to 22. Another Welshman in the Leeds Beckett ranks is Kieran Davis. Now James, keen to keep that infield. Not much of a chase coming on again, it's just forwards running shuttles in the middle of the park. Oh, good turn of pace here though again. Harry Robinson, he's just like a cannonball. He was on the bench for the Twickenham final. Kerry Wood and Colin Stevens really like wingers who come in looking for work. Speaking of coming in looking for work, Cardiff Met turn the ball over again, win the penalty, possibly a kickable one too.
It's a lot of turnovers coming from the second sort of attempts at rucks, isn't it? The first collision at the ruck is sort of like setting the tone, but it's the poachers after that. They're really getting their hands on the ball and win all the penalties for Met at the moment.
Still raining pretty heavily. It's not thundering down like it was. I'm pretty sure the players will just be numb out there now. 14 minutes of the second half gone. Or just on the pitch, look. You can see. Who's that with no number on their back there?
That'd be Bingo.
Oh, there is Bingo
That
Ivanisevic.
is Bingo, yeah.
No relation to Goran, I've been told. Alas, he is shivering and shaking and desperate to get some blood in those fingers.
He made a real impact in the game last week. Started, and you know, he was probably the key man in the back line.
The irony of Bingo not having a number. Anyway, Harry Johnston to increase the lead for Cardiff Met. Good strike. 3 points. Cardiff Met 25, Leeds Beckett 19, and the first points of the half for the home team.
Maybe a bit of a worrying sight for Cardiff Met here. Will Gibson and Ali Ward both getting a bit of attention with the physios that come on the pitch. So looking forward on this game, that might make a bit of an impact.
Well, they have been key to most of what's good. In terms of the highlights reel, we'll see the individual try from Matt Marsh and the crossfield kick from Bennett to find Denty. But the back row been sensational. Short kickoff, gobbled up. That's not an easy take in these conditions.
Sometimes when the unnatural kicks are the hardest ones to get a hold of. So
that one half charged down, and Will Lewin waits for it, gathers it, and this is the kind of position he likes, running at broken play, but a good chase swallows him up just shy of the halfway line. Oh, it's been turned over as well. Nobody at home, but the kick not as clean as they'd have liked. Here comes the chase. It's only one man, but it's been knocked on. Frustration boiling over, and that's Kieran Davis already thinking about the return kick before he gathered the ball. Smart thinking, but I think Cardiff Met have got away without, well, wasn't the best kick, let's just say. But great field position and a scrum on the 22, and they'll be looking to get something from this.
As an away player as well, I couldn't think of a worse place to do that, right in front of the ultras. And here they are, they're going to be screaming for this scrum here. The front row are really putting a shift in from both packs.
Well, they have made the changes in the front row. Jared Leet and Jacob Percival coming on. Interestingly, this time last year, Jared Leet got man of the match against Leeds Beckett. Up on the 4G at Loughborough. He had a great few years there, on a 2-year Masters. In fact, I'm pretty sure Sandra, his mum, will be at home watching. So hi, Sandra. Free kick to Cardiff Met. But they'll make a difference. Good scrummages. That was something that Beckett did struggle with. Didn't think it'd be too long before the rotation came in.
Sort of makes you wonder how long are Cardiff Met going to wait to bring their sort of in-back players on, especially in the scrum. It's been probably the pivotal moment of the game so far, and the set piece is really taking toll on the sort of what goes on around it. So Cardiff Met are going to have to look to change pretty soon with these new legs on.
Well, Ian Pring has come on at blindside flanker. It's a BUCS Super Rugby debut for him as well. Been involved with Blues youngsters, bit of a twist coming on, and that's the change in the scrum. The two front rowers, the difference makers, and after forcing the free kick, not going quickly, Leeds Beckett turn the screw, and again, they can relieve the pressure. What a massive change in tide that could be.
Yeah, just as we were saying, how pivotal the scrum's going to be, and a big impact on the replacements. Maybe that'll put a question in Danny Milton's mind for the next few minutes.
Look at Will Routledge. I know I've waxed lyrical about him, but he's put in 60 minutes of hard graft. He's still jogging up to take the throw.
I'm sure he's going to have his feet up on the long journey bus home.
Yeah. And who can blame him? Hopefully the heater works. Because obviously university rugby just keeps going up and up, not just in quality but in facilities as well. As that one goes loose, there would have been a time where you'd have played a game like this, then you'd have gone into the changing room afterwards and the showers wouldn't have worked, honestly. Absolute disaster. There's Jared Leet making himself a nuisance at the breakdown. Box kick goes in, Lewin's underneath it. Good take from the winger. Zach Clow makes the tackle. They're trying to hold him up here, trying to stop it moving. But Beckett do well to keep it going forward. It's going to have to as well because Lewin's been wrapped up. Jared Leeds in there too, already making an impact, the loose head prop. Well, Tim's going to swap out and we're going to welcome back Chris Stafford. We had a lovely chat at half-time, Chris. If anything, it went on for a little bit too long. But you've made the changes in the front row. You've won the penalty in the scrum. That's exactly what you want from a coach's perspective, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I think if Percy and Jared are really good at with the scrum. They've come on and made an immediate impact, and hopefully that'll give the lads that little bit more confidence and set pieces turn it over again here.
Second half so far, it's been one of those days where the forwards just seem to be running shuttles in the middle, kick to kick to kick.
Yeah, it's not the weather to be a fold when it turns into a bit of kick tennis, but you know, we need to get that ball back in the 22 and hopefully give us an opportunity to come away with some more points.
Just looking at Will Routledge, in fact he's packing down at flanker now, is he? His work rate's phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean he puts his head in places I wouldn't have put my feet. He's mental, but he's such a workhorse. He doesn't stop. He gives everything for 80 minutes, and again, that's what Colin are looking for from the lads.
Just over the hour mark then on the clock in the stadium, and another free kick to Cardiff Met. I wonder if they'll go quickly this time. Yes, they will. Will Gibson taps, goes and takes a bit of a knock for his troubles. That's tipped on quickly. Good cover tackle from Toby Francis. He's been a bit quieter than normal. Not the night for him. Corey Lewis fumbles and gathers. Leeds Beckett trying to get hands on that. Evan Lloyd, another cross kick, looking for the man on the right hand side, finds him too. Oh, that's a tactic that's worked well for Cardiff Met, and they find themselves back in the Beckett 22. Gibson waits there at first receiver, but they miss him out. Cross kicks from one side to the other. Zach Clow underneath. Has that gone forward off Will Lewin? Referee happy enough to continue. Aerial challenge, and Cardiff Met really working Leeds Beckett from side to side. Good tackle from Wadden, winning the collision against Alan Ward. But great field position here for the Archers. Beckett managing to stem the tide. So important they keep their discipline defensively. So they don't want to give away a penalty and fall more than a converted try behind once more. But Evan Lloyd, is he waiting in the drop goal position? Matt Marsh, just a bystander at the moment. Hands on that from Beckett. They think they've got the turnover, and they have. Fabulous work by Toby Francis.
I think he must have heard you say that you'd had a quiet game so far.
The commentator's curse works both ways. But someone like Toby Francis, he's more associated with his big tackling, his big ball carrying. So again, from a coach's perspective, to see him doing that work over the ball, good signs.
Yeah, and it's a great opportunity for us to get a turnover in an area where Cardiff was starting to look a bit dangerous. You know, hopefully this give us some good field position there. Hopefully we can make it count, get into the 22 and get some points on board.
But in conditions like this, if you can slow the ball down like that, you give yourselves the opportunities to get those turnovers. Talked about defensive discipline. Great work from your team there.
Yeah, everyone was really disciplined there. We had our guards and bodyguards in, and that just put pressure on Cardiff's attack.
Adrian Wadden again, the man at the front. Second row on second row. I think Pearson trying to get inside Okafor's mind there. He's got the ball at the back. It's Connor Lloyd up the blind side. Will Lewin. Again, hands on that from Met. Wrestled off by Okafor. There's Routledge, puts his head down. Lloyd shapes for the box kick. Up into those lights again. Oh, that was a strange one, to say the least. Well, the referee and his assistant have seen something that I haven't there.
Yeah, we'll take it. I'm not quite too sure myself what's happening, but it's good pictures, good pressure, and hopefully now we can build a platform.
Well, you talked about building through the phases and getting into the 22. Kieran Davis has missed touch. Oh, goodness me, what a mistake to make. Nick Brown is absolutely furious. Him and Jared Leet were trotting up ready for a line out in the corner, but it's gone the wrong side of the flag. Difficult to tell from here, but the referee's assistant on this near side has had two big decisions to make in 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's unfortunate there from Kizza, really. Hopefully the front row now can put a bit of hard work in and win the ball back for him.
And just like that, the Archers find their voice again. That new look front row of Lotus, Leet and Percival have won a penalty at scrum time already. They'll be looking to do the same here. In it comes from Matt Marsh. And now it starts to turn. And this time the penalty goes to Cardiff Met.
Yeah, just like they got round Percy then and got around on him and got the wheel on. Just a bit unfortunate.
Into the final 15 minutes. It's been a more pragmatic second half. We had 4 tries in the first. Just the 2 penalties in the second half. One off the boot of Lloyd, one off the boot of Johnston. And neither team have really been able to take advantage of their territory in the second half. Again, Beckett come through and spoil the line-out. Really have had their moments.
Yeah, it was great there from Adrian just to get in front of the jumper, and kind of looks like he's going to try and put us in a good position here with another box kick.
He's a massive asset at the set piece, Adrian Warden, isn't he?
Yeah, his intelligence when it comes to observing the opposition and going up in the right areas to win the ball back is a huge asset to have in the line out set.
Good chase from Toby Francis. As Yayan Pring tucks in and goes himself. There's no winger at home, so Cardiff Met playing the smart territory game. Will Lewin was up. There was a gap in behind him, and Cardiff Met back in the Beckett 22.
And to fair to Cardiff, that's something they've done really well today. They've identified when we've been short at the back and we've kicked and put us under a little more pressure for our set piece in our 22.
Well, Ollie Andrews is going to come on for Cardiff Met. He was highlighted before the match as a real impact player off the bench. And it's been a big shift for those props. Well, I will bid you adieu, Chris Stafford. Catch up with you after the match. And we're going to welcome Cardiff Met coach Rhys Roberts as Connor Lloyd kicks that one clear. Oh, it's a good kick from him as well. And a massive chase from Toby Francis, who must have heard me say he's had a quiet game because he's been immense since. Rhys Roberts, welcome. I'm not saying this is you finding... Oh, what a massive shot that is from Lotus. Not saying this is an excuse for you to get out of the rain, but welcome to the only dry spot in Cardiff. A few changes, particularly in the back line. 10's just gone to 15. Is that to counteract the conditions? You seem to have played territorial rugby very well in this second stanza.
Yeah, as having 2 out on the field, everybody knows then gives us a greater kicking game, especially with Russ Bennett and then Evan Lloyd. 2 great kickers out of hand, and as you can see, by mistake, it's paid in our favour, and he's offside.
Well, here we go. Oh, the referee's already blown his whistle. I thought the chase was on. There's been a change for Leeds Beckett as well. Dan Grant Adamson has come on for Connor Lloyd, so they're going to have to find another source for their points because he scored all 19 for Leeds Beckett today. But that is exactly why you make changes like that, isn't it? First you get the territory, but in these conditions you are always liable to force a mistake like that.
Yeah, and 100%. And when we put pressure on the set piece, like we have done all throughout the game, I think very effectively as well, we will kick them more into their territory, then hoping for fumbles like we just saw, and then playing on our hands.
Long way to go in this game, but right at the start we suggested that the game might be won and lost in the back row, and the Archers back row have been sensational today.
Yeah, I know that you highlighted Will Gibson right at the start of the game. He's had an immense game. I think Ian Pring, who's just come on now, has made a real impact. Max Heathman, as everybody knows within the university, he loves these kind of conditions. He's a Welsh boy and he loves getting in the muck and enjoying getting that ball in his hands.
Well, he's probably not used to seeing this much green on a pitch, to be honest. It's not been the easiest of seasons for Cardiff Met so far. You've had some great wins and some disappointing losses. Obviously it's a results game, but it's about player development too. So to have a team who have put quite a few to the sword, they've nilled Northumbria, they've nilled Loughborough, they were unlucky not to beat Exeter. To come here and to get the better of a side like Leeds Beckett for such long periods of time, this must bode well.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to be on the bus on the way back from a BUCS 2 fixture, but luckily thank you to YouTube, I was catching up with your commentary. And like you said, we beat Hartby twice, you know, first time in the history we've done that. And it's all about consistency, like you said as well.
Grant Adamson has to pick up the pieces there. Steph James can't get the ball away. Another charge down. It's in a similar position to where Connor Lloyd scored his try in the first half. Into the final 10 minutes. And Leeds Beckett still 6 points behind. It's spilled out. Chance here for Cardiff Met. Straight back into the 22. Looking to turn the screw now. Another score here and surely it's game over. That one tipped on. No one really taking responsibility for the ball. It's been a characteristic of the game, but more about that later. Evan Lloyd. Bingo Ivanisevic. First touch ball in hand for him. Perhaps not the time nor the place for quick hands. Lovely line then from Will Gibson, but that one's gone forward. And we're back where we started.
Yeah, we don't mind these kind of errors in their half, in their 22, deep by their try line. We don't mind having a scrum here, buying down the clock. 6 point game, 8 minutes to go. It's going to be a tight affair, but being this half of the rugby, this side of the rugby field is beneficial for us rather than Leeds Beckett.
Danny Milton has just given the most David Brent look down the camera I've ever seen. Can somebody clip that up? And
yeah,
make
that's
it a
his
meme
happy
forever,
face
please?
as well, by everyone who's listening. That's his happy face.
So the change in the front row, Ollie Andrews has just come on, making a name for himself as a real impact player off the bench.
Yeah, I think he's buddying up now. Will Hurd has had a successful World Cup with the Scotland 20s in the summer. I think Will is now dragging Ollie to that kind of standard, and we've seen that on the field as well as the S&C and the skills sessions we had to do with him.
So looking back at the history of this fixture as Leeds Beckett win a free kick at scrum time. It's the 8th time the two teams have played. Met have won 4, Beckett have won 2, and there's been 1 draw. But interestingly, Cardiff Met have always won the first fixture of the season where the two teams have played. But you know what they say about records? They're there to be broken. Can Leeds Beckett magic something up in the final 8 minutes of the game? It's back with Cardiff Met again. Will Gibson finds himself on the ball. Lung-busting shift from him. Crossfield kick. Looking for Brayshaw, who gathers it. Lewin has to make the tackle. And Lloyd, the replacement 10, looks to have a lovely touch.
Yeah, we're lucky enough to be having a couple of the Dragons boys who are studying at university here, and he's one of them. He's involved in the Wales 20s training camp at the moment, and as he's demonstrating his skill and quality here tonight.
You lost a few players, didn't you, from Wales 20s? A couple of injuries.
Yeah, well, it's been a tough camp for him, and you know, rugby is a contact sport at the end of the day, and those kind of things happen. We can't plan for every player to be fit through the season, so it's just something we've got to adapt, and as every team does within BUCS Super Rugby.
So I'm going to put you on the spot here. I found out earlier, thanks to Chris, that they've got over 200 registered players at Leeds Beckett. Give me a ballpark figure. How many have you got here at Cardiff?
Well, we've got
Met?
250, so
Have you really?
yeah, we have, yeah.
Crikey.
So we run 11 teams through the team, so we've got 6 on a Wednesday, and luckily enough to be adding a second conference team, which is our thirds now on the weekend, along with our youth and championship.
Better lineup. Oh, is that gone? Is he giving the knock on there?
No, I think it was in a straight.
Okay. Your eyes are better than mine, mate. I'm getting old.
You are.
And good to see young Tommy back on the team, back on the score sheet today.
Yeah, 18 months, Tom Morgan. Those of you who BUCS Rugby know that he's a points machine for us back in the day. Unluckily got injured in the semi-finals in Bath, and since then has been on the rehab train. And now he's had his full game for BUCS 3 today and mentioned for our team of the week, so which is great for him.
Well, I watched about 5 minutes of it because it was too cold for me, but he cut a lovely line and went in under the sticks, and it's just nice to see. Obviously, a lot of heavy strapping on that. I'm not sure if some of it will be psychological, but if it is, long may it continue. Great to see him back on the pitch. Not just from a Cardiff Met perspective, but just in terms of a young man who picks up an injury. That's a career ender for a lot of boys, so a lot of mental strength for him to get back out there, and great to see.
Yeah, it definitely shows his resilience within rugby, wanting to get back involved. As he was injured, he helped out the coaching with our programme. And not only that, he's a good role model for the youngsters coming through, having talking to him and guiding, and like a buddy system, if you'd like, for the backs, and obviously his quality show today again for BUCS 3.
Approaching the final 5 minutes, Leeds Beckett have been starved of territory and possession, but now the scrum has started to go forward. These changes paying dividends, and there's the penalty. Now what is the shout here? It's kickable. But Kieran Davis is going to go for the corner. He's missed touch once. I don't think he'll bite off quite as much this time. Finds a safe touch, kicks Leeds Beckett into the Cardiff Met 22. And these are the opportunities that top sides really take advantage of. They've been on the back foot for the majority of this game, but now this is a massive opportunity. The first time in about 20 minutes they found themselves in the Cardiff Met 22. Rhys Roberts has gone to warm up the table at Curry Club, so Tim's joining me once again. Oh, and that's been spilled forward. Or has it been stolen? There's no referee's arm up, so I think that must have been a Cardiff Met steal.
It's sort of reversed from what happened earlier on in the first half. Met being really poor discipline-wise, and now it's Leeds Beckett. They look like they're struggling. The opposition's 22.
Cannon of a boot there. What a fantastic
clearance.
clearance.
Evan Lloyd, saw him before the game warming up, and he just thought, wow, Jesus Christ, it could really put Met into some good positions in this game, and it shows just with a kick like that he definitely is.
Well, he's made 50 metres there. More changes being made then. Isaac Thompson and Liam Malkin coming on for the final 3 minutes or so. Just a reminder, God, you can see the rain coming down still. 3 minutes left on our clock, but it's not linked in with the referees, so there's still plenty of time in this one. And we've seen how quickly it can change. Oh, that can't be straight, can it? No. Well, back-to-back line-out errors from Leeds Beckett, a side that prides themselves in set-piece discipline.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that Will Routledge has gone onto the flank at the scrums, but he's still thrown in. So it shows they've tried to bust out the front row to counteract Cardiff Met's known scrum dominance, and maybe he's starting to struggle now.
Well, he has put in a heck of a display. He's been absolutely everywhere. Certainly in contention as a top performer for Leeds Beckett this evening. Along with Connor Lloyd, Will Lewin on the right wing has done a lot of work as well. Matt Marsh still on, so they've not gone for any kind of split with the scrum halves, as we often see these days. Just look to start to creep there, so the ball comes out. There's Lloyd drifting across. Now they can put some width on it. Little kick in behind, asking all the questions of Leeds Beckett. That's Kieran Davis. That's been spilled forward again. Got off a Cardiff Met hand.
I have to admit, Dave, I wasn't really watching that. There's a bit of handbags here down at the bottom. I had my eyes on that.
But there's been a few bits. I mentioned at half-time there have been a couple of moments where it looked like it could boil over. A lot of needle in there today. Big forward orientated game, two big physical packs, a lot of egos in there as well.
It's really starting to show, isn't it, that both teams want this. It's a big game for both teams. And it could be a telling tale for the next few games. Everyone wants to be on the street going towards the middle of the season. So that's why everyone's really pushing hard at this stage.
Into the final minute on our clock. Cardiff Met less than 60 seconds away from a huge win. Chip over the top, very, very well defended, under huge scrutiny. A victory here for Cardiff Met would take them to just 2 points behind Leeds Beckett in the league table as well. Now surely they just go through the phases until the referee tells them it's time to clear for touch. But again, what is easy in September is very difficult in November, because just keeping the ball in hand, it's proved difficult all evening. Actually, given the conditions, not just the moisture in the air, but the temperature as well, the handling's actually been exemplary. Now our clock has gone red. There's an advantage coming here for Cardiff Met. Referee had his left arm out.
Evan Lloyd stood behind all the pods here, and he's really managing them well. So clear communication is really setting up for Cardiff Met. The time ticking is going a little bit too slow for Cardiff Met, a little bit too quick for Beckett at the moment.
Well, they're losing about a metre a carry. So at this, and Leeds Beckett have got the penalty. Just like that. Is there a sting in the tail? Discipline, discipline, discipline. Toby Francis was the man who won the penalty, and he has had some really, really key contributions here. But will this be the last play? So they're going to have to kick for the corner and win it here, bearing in mind they've lost their last two lineouts.
This is going to be where it's shown us up from the whole night, from what we said, isn't it?
Well, they have got the quality. Oh, he's missed touch. He's missed touch with the last play of the game. The Archers get a fantastic, well-earned victory, but Kieran Davis misses the penalty, misses touch, and misses the opportunity to win the game for Leeds Beckett. Well, you don't see things like that very often in rugby, but on balance, Cardiff Met deserved victors here this evening.
Yeah, in a pretty horrible day, a horrible bit of action from both teams. They've had to really grit out through the whole of the game. Forward dominated, like we said, and just a little. It's the 1%ers, the 1% at the end, not going to Leeds Beckett, and that's the full-time whistle. It's gone there.
Well, Cardiff Met battled and battled, scored some fantastic tries in the first half, given the conditions, but they knew they were up against it this evening. Leeds Beckett, 13 victories in 16 matches. They've beaten every team in BUCS Super Rugby, but they've come to Kincoid and left empty-handed. Full-time here, Cardiff Met 25, Leeds Beckett 19. Tim, your thoughts on what we've seen here this evening?
Well, you have to say it's been a tale of two halves, isn't it? In the first half, Cardiff Met were really playing how they normally do. They play just without, like, the weather wasn't an issue. And then coming into the second half, they toned it down a bit, playing a lot more structured. We are seeing cross kicks everywhere on the pitch, and it was, they've come out with a win, and they're going to take the 4 points at the end of the day. What do you reckon, Dal?
What a win! That's great. We love to see that. What's Danny Milton say? Yeah, Danny Milton thanks the Ultras. I think they played a key role tonight, as they always do. What a win for the boys. They've beat a very, very strong Leeds Beckett side tonight, and a very, very dominant performance as well. What a win.
It's going to be one of their long journey homes, isn't it? They're going to look back at that and think there was a couple of 1%, so they could probably improve on. That could be the difference in the game.
Yeah, that's a long journey back up to Leeds.
25-19. The Cardiff Met Ultras are in full voice, but Chris Stafford, what are your immediate thoughts in the aftermath of that? Because you had your chances, and at this level, if you have a kick to the corner to give yourself a line out to win the match, you have to find touch, don't you?
Yeah, but I think the lads will just be generally disappointed with the whole game. There's just a few things that just haven't gone our way. I think the conditions have played a massive impact. We weren't really able to build any momentum in their half. The line out, overthrows, knock-ons in the line. You know, just small little bits have just impacted on us to be able to get that momentum, to be able to put Cardiff under pressure. I don't think we've presented our massive best out there today, but lots of learning moments for the lads that we can take into training over the next week.
It's the kind of league where you're never going to go undefeated, and you're going to lose games. You're going to perhaps lose games you deserve to win games you deserve to lose. So how do you rebuild after a night like tonight?
I think the lads will go away. They'll have the bus trip back up to Leeds tonight, and we'll get together on Friday for a review, and we'll watch all the clips back, and we'll just try and identify a few areas that we can work on. Ready for I think we're at home next week, so it's opportunities there for us to push on.
Well, we've got the Cardiff Met boys behind us enjoying their celebrations, and rightly so. While they enjoy that, let's talk about some things that did go well for you. Before I bring in Danny Milton, who's probably as pleased as punch, those changes in the front row worked. Toby Francis really came into the game, and once again Connor Lloyd was absolutely superb. What other positives are you going to take from this evening?
It's a good question. I think all the lads' heart and determination that they've done all the way through that game. It's been awful conditions for rugby. It's been very much a forward-orientated game, but they've not given up for the whole game. Even in that last bit there to earn that penalty, it's a bit harsh on Kizza with the kick, and I know he'll be beating himself up about that, but it was from a difficult middle of the field. It was a long kick for him to make, but the work rate was non-stop throughout. They've worked really hard. After a long bus trip down, I think that'll be the key thing. They never give up for 80 minutes.
Well, thank you for your time this evening. Safe journey home, and look forward to catching up with you in the rest of the season. Let's bring you out and bring Danny in.
Got a stool?
25-19, I'll nip down here. That's your best win of the season so far, right?
Oh, absolutely. Leeds Beckett. We knew the sort of side they were going to be, and they've had a fantastic start to the season. A lot of the finalists from last year in that outfit as well. So we knew it was going to be a tough day at the office, and the conditions meant it was. But I tell you what, considering the conditions, what a good advert for BUCS Super Rugby. I thought it was an excellent game.
We spoke before the game about the battle of the back row, and your back row were absolutely sensational today.
Yeah, Aled, Will and Max, they bring it, those sort of performances week on week, and they're real competitors, and I'm really proud of all three of them today.
Who's in charge of cross kicks?
Chrissy O has done a lot of work with our attacking kick-in, and Rhys Roberts is involved, and I think something that we've been looking to work on all year, bring a bit of kick into our game, copying Cardiff from last year, so really pleased.
How do you make it more consistent though? Because things went really well today, things that haven't gone well throughout the season. You've beaten arguably the best team in the league tonight.
Yeah, I think that's the measure of what's going to happen next for us. 2 weeks ago, Hartbury, really good performance, followed up with a disappointing one against Durham. I think the next step for us and the measure of what this side's going to become is, can we start to back it up week on week?
Massive games every week, but we're about a month out from that big Cardiff derby at the Arms Park now. As a fan, that's what I really look forward to. But are there sort of dates in the diary that you look forward to?
I think the difficulty with this league is every game, you look at it each week and you're thinking perhaps there's an easy game coming up, and there isn't. We go away to Bath next and Loughborough, and then Swansea, who've had a fantastic start to the BUCS Super Rugby campaign, and it's exciting. It's just great, and it's great to have it back on TV, and we're just really pleased tonight.
I'm pleased too. Danny, I will let you enjoy the celebrations.
Thank you very
Huge
much.
Congratulations. I've been handed a phone. I've got no idea what it says on it, but thank you very much for joining us this evening. Huge congratulations to everybody at Cardiff Met, not just those out there on the pitch who've done a wonderful job, but all of those involved with the production too. It's great to be back live bringing you BUCS Super Rugby, and we look forward to the next time you join us. Have a great evening.